Good morning, people. Bright and early today. I haven't gone to sleep yet, so I am up late and I wanted to try something new. I'm going to dictate the unsealed Ghislaine Maxwell documents as it pertains to the Jeffrey Epstein case. And I'm going to go as long as I can until I can't. And so I might split this up into multiple videos. Without further ado, oh, and I will link it in the description too. People want to read it. Answer by Ghislaine. Okay, large, stony. He had a king-size bed with posts on it. There was a large door, I think it's called a door, where you put your clothes. There was an adjacent bathroom with a more stony look, giant tub. Excuse me, this is not Ghislaine Maxwell. This is one of the victims. Question. What color was the paint on the wall? It was stone. What color was the bedspread? White. What color were the sheets? White. And you saw Ghislaine Maxwell have sexual contact with an unknown, unnamed female in that room. Correct? Absolutely. All right. When were you there that you saw this happen? This happened on so many occasions. The island was a place where orgies were a constant thing that took place. And again, it's impossible to know how many. And like I said, it wasn't just Jeffrey's room. It was outside, and it was. What sexual contact did you observe Ghislaine Maxwell have with a female by the pool at an orgy on the U.S. Virgin Islands? Well, there was quite a few girls, and it was, excuse me if I'm saying this in an inexplicit way, but I don't know how else to say it. So if you don't understand, please let me know. Girl on girl action. There was a lot of, what's the word for it? Licking vaginas, breasts. So that is just an excerpt from the deposition. Moving on to the unsealed documents. This is from the United States District Court, Southern District of New York. Virginia L. Joffrey, the plaintiff, versus Ghislaine Maxwell, the defendant. Declaration of Sigurd S. Macaulay in support of plaintiff's motion to compel defendant to answer deposition questions filed under seal. I, Sigurd S. Macaulay, declare that the below is true and correct to the best of my knowledge. I am a partner with law firm Boyes, Schiller, and Flexner, and duly licensed to practice in Florida, etc. I respectfully submit this declaration in support of plaintiff's motion to compel defendant to answer deposition questions under filed seal. 3, attached hitherto is Exhibit 1. 4, attached hitherto is Exhibit 2, which are pages from her deposition. Number 5, attached hitherto as Exhibit 3 is a true and correct copy of the Palm Beach Police Report. Number 6, attached hitherto as Exhibit 4 are true and correct copies of pages 60 to 62 of Defendant Maxwell's April 22, 2016 deposition transcript. Attached hitherto as Exhibit 5 is a true and correct copy of page 82 of that deposition, as well as pages 52 to 55, 64 to 65, 82, 92 to 93, 137 to 138, 307 to 309, page 51. Okay, moving forward. And the signature. Okay, formalities. United States District Court, Southern District of New York, Virginia L. Joffrey, plaintiff, versus Ghislaine Maxwell, defendant. Declaration of Jeffrey S. Pagliuca in support of defendant's combined response to plaintiff's motion to compel defendant to answer deposition questions filed under seal and motion to terminate or to limit pursuant to FRCIVP And there is, again, the introduction where the attorney swears that he is licensed, etc., under penalty of perjury. So that, again, these are just formalities. Let's move down to the good stuff. Okay, I've got the table of contents, table of authorities, certificate of conferral, introduction, background facts relevant to dispute, including correspondence between Jane Doe number 1 and Jane Doe number 2 versus the United States, Joffrey versus Maxwell, Bradley Edwards and Paul Cassell versus Alan Dershowitz, Jane Doe number 102 versus Jeffrey Epstein. Number 5, correspondence, potential legal action against entities and individuals. Okay, then they talk about the attorney-client privilege, work product privilege. Again, this is the table of contents. Number 2, plaintiff and her attorneys waived attorney-client and work product privileges by putting plaintiff's representation at issue in the Dershowitz case. Plaintiff's waiver of the attorney-client privilege, Edwards and Cassell's waivers of attorney-client and work product privilege in the Dershowitz case. Number 3, there is no privilege as to communications with Scarola. And so they have the table of authorities, which is the listed, as far as I can tell, prior cases in the Supreme Court that they're basing their case on. That's the way I would read it. And I don't have to list all those. Okay. Defendant Ghislaine Maxwell, Ms. Maxwell, files this motion to compel all attorney-client communications and attorney work product placed at issue by plaintiff and her attorneys, and as grounds therefore states as follows. Plaintiff and her attorneys have tied a Gordian knot of overlapping litigations, client representations, and joint defense agreements. Through these multiple litigations and representations, they attempt to strategically leverage attorney-client communications and attorney work product to their tactical advantage by selectively disclosing information. Simultaneously, they desperately seek to avoid disclosure of related materials they know are unfavorable, would destroy plaintiff's claim that she has been truthful, and reveal her attorney's knowledge of plaintiff's false statements and multiple sworn filings and her concerted media campaign. So again, this is the defendant's introduction. The law, continuing, the law, however, does not permit such a manipulation of the attorney-client and work product privileges. Rather, the selective disclosure of privileged materials results in a waiver of privilege as to all such material. This waiver is broad sweeping when, as here, the persons asserting the privileges have affirmatively put the subject matter of the materials at issue. In the most recent of their serial litigations, apart from this case, plaintiff's own attorneys, Bradley Edwards, so that's how they refer to him from now on, and Paul Cassell, I don't know if it's Cassell or Castle, but I'm going to pronounce it Cassell. Again, from now on, he'll be referred to as Cassell, sued Harvard law professor Alan Dershowitz for defamation in Florida State Court. The subject matter of that litigation concerned whether Mr. Dershowitz defamed plaintiff's attorneys by claiming that she was lying, that B, Edwards and Cassell knew plaintiff was lying, and C, Edwards and Cassell helped plaintiff lie and helped her concoct her stories. Edwards and Cassell failed to properly investigate plaintiff's allegations before filing pleadings and sworn statements on plaintiff's behalf. And E, Edward and Cassell were motivated to take these actions by a desire to achieve personal economic gain. So basically, she's saying that Virginia is making this up to gain money, and that her lawyers helped her lie. This litigation put at issue all communications between plaintiff and her attorneys, as well as her attorney's complete work product in the investigations of plaintiff's stories and accusations. The truth of the matter put at issue in the Dershowitz litigation can only be tested by examination of privileged materials, resulting in a sweeping waiver. Background facts relevant to dispute. In her privilege log, plaintiff has categorically logged 5 separate groups of documents she has withheld on the basis of AC privilege and work product joint defense common interest. The documents are defined as correspondence, reply, Jane Doe number 1 and Jane Doe number 2 versus the United States, case number 08 dash yada yada yada, pending in the Southern District of Florida. Plaintiff withheld documents purportedly to and from her attorneys and others related to legal advice regarding the CVRA case. The CVRA case is the case I just mentioned, Jane Doe number 1 and 2 versus the United States. From now on, it will be referred to as the CVRA case. Legal advice regarding the CVRA case to which plaintiff is not a party, and documents purportedly giving attorney mental impressions related to the CVRA case and evidence related thereto. Declaration of Laura A. Menninger. Menninger Declaration, Exhibit A. The date range of the documents is 2011 to the present. The persons identified as involved in the communications are the plaintiff, Virginia Joffrey, now referred to as Joffrey, Brad Edwards, from now on referred to as Edwards, Cassell, Brittany Henderson, Sigrid McCauley, Meredith Schultz, David Boyce, Jack Scarola, Stan Pottinger, Ellen Brockman, and legal assistants. Professionals retained by attorneys to aid in the rendition of legal advice and representation, other professionals. Number 2, correspondence, Joffrey versus Maxwell, pending in the Southern District of New York. The date range of the documents is the 21st of September 2015 to the present. Persons identified as involved in the communications are Virginia Joffrey, Edwards, Cassell, Henderson, McCauley, Schultz, Boyd, Pottinger, Stephen Zach, Brockman, and the legal assistants and other professionals. Correspondence, Edwards and Cassell versus Alan Dershowitz, or the Dershowitz case. Okay, this continues on like this, and listing the case Jane Doe number 2 versus Epstein, listing the persons identified in the communications, including, again, Virginia Joffrey, Bob Josephsberg, Catherine Azell, Amy Edery, other Pothurst attorneys, and the legal assistants and professionals. And it goes on to number 5, which basically lists all those people again, with, again, the date range of the documents being 2015 January to the present. According to her most recent interrogatory response, plaintiff Joffrey has been represented in various litigation matters identified above as follows. And it then lists the cases with Joffrey and her legal representation. Okay, so this is the CVRA case, which again, let me scroll back up, is Jane Doe number 1 and Jane Doe number 2 versus the United States. So I'm trying to skip to the good stuff. In the CVRA case, Edwards, starting in 2011, and Cassell, starting in 2014 May, have represented plaintiff in attempting to obtain joinder in the pending action. On the 30th of December, Cassell and Edwards filed a pleading titled Jane Doe number 3 and Jane Doe number 4's motion pursuant to Rule 21 for joinder in action in the CBRA case. Menninger declared the joinder motion contained a number of allegations on behalf of a Jane Doe number 3, who was actually Miss Joffrey, the plaintiff in this case. The allegations include that quote, Epstein also sexually trafficked the then minor Jane Doe number 3, making her available for sex to politically connected and financially powerful people. The politically connected and financially powerful people, identified by Edwards and Cassell by name as having had sexual relations with Jane Doe number 3, or Virginia, or Prince Andrew, Duke of York, Ms. Maxwell, John Luke Burnell, and Alan Dershowitz. Continuing. Following the joinder motion, Dershowitz made numerous public appearances in which he vigorously denied the allegations, stated that Edward and Cassell are, quote, are lying deliberately, and that if Cassell and Edwards had just done an hour's worth of work, they would have seen she is lying through her teeth. And of course, he's referring to Virginia. The Dershowitz case, on the 6th of January, Edwards and Cassell initiated litigation against Dershowitz. In the Dershowitz case, Edwards and Cassell sued Dershowitz for defamation, claiming that Dershowitz's public statements that they and their client were lying, and that they failed to investigate their client's claims were false. The complaint by Edwards and Cassell alleged that immediately following the filing of what Dershowitz knew to be an entirely proper and well-founded pleading, Dershowitz initiated a massive public media assault on the reputation and character of Bradley J. Edwards and Paul G. Cassell. Again, these are her attorneys for this case, accusing them of intentionally lying in their filing, of having leveled knowingly false accusations against the Dershowitz without ever conducting any investigation of the credibility of the accusations, and of having acted unethically to the extent that their willful misconduct warranted and required disbarment. Both Edwards and Cassell claimed as false Dershowitz's statements that Edwards and Cassell, quote, failed to minimally investigate the allegations advanced on behalf of their client, Virginia Joffrey, and even that they sat down with her to contrive the allegations. So again, that they're saying that they all kind of made these lies up. During the Dershowitz litigation, Edwards and Cassell responded to interrogatories and requests for production issued by Dershowitz. Interrogator number 1 asked, state verbatim or as close as possible each statement by Dershowitz that you assert defamed you. To which Edwards and Cassell responded with 9 pages of statements made by Dershowitz in the press, where Dershowitz states that plaintiff is lying, Edwards and Cassell knew plaintiff is lying, and Edwards and Cassell helped plaintiff lie and, quote, put words in her mouth. And Edwards and Cassell failed to properly investigate plaintiff's allegations before publicizing plaintiff's statements. Edwards and Cassell further stated that the listed Dershowitz press statements were defamatory because, quote, the factual assertions contained or implied in the statements quoted in answer to interrogatory number 1 were not true, notably with regard to claims that Edwards and Cassell were deliberately lying, had failed to conduct an investigation of the allegations before filing them, had manipulated or conspired with Jane Doe number 3 to make intentionally false allegations about Mr. Dershowitz, and that plaintiffs were motivated to participate in the filing of knowingly false allegations against the defendant by a desire to achieve personal economic gain. Again, they're saying that they all conspired to make these claims against Dershowitz to get money. Continuing, at the time the Dershowitz case was filed, Edwards, Cassell, and Boyes represented a plaintiff regarding, quote, potential litigations. Plaintiff Edwards and Cassell claimed to be in a joint defense or a common interest agreement relating to the Dershowitz case, although no such agreement has ever been produced. Plaintiff and her counsel actively participated in the Dershowitz case. She provided a declaration in the Dershowitz case in support of the claims against Dershowitz. Menninger also sat for a deposition in the Dershowitz case and testified in a manner expected to support Edwards's and Cassell's claims. Her counsel filed 12 pleadings in that matter. It goes on to state the attorney, client, and work privilege standards and limitations according to the law, the United States law, and it goes on to cite various cases that support that. It also goes on to state where or the fact that an attorney-client privilege may be waived, right? And also the supporting cases for that, and what happens when that right is waived. Through her participation in the case, plaintiff Virginia Joffrey specifically discussed her communications with Edwards and Cassell. In her sworn declaration, she discussed the following attorney communications. Her conversation with Brad Edwards in 2011 when she first told him her story. This was followed by a telephone conversation with Edwards and his attorney Scarola, which was recorded with her knowledge and consent and which has been filed in multiple court papers and given to the press. Her discussions with Edwards and Cassell of her representation in the CVRA. Her directions to counsel to pursue criminal charges. In her conversations with her attorneys, quote, no one has pressured her to identify Dershowitz as a person who allegedly abused her. Her authorization to her attorney to file various affidavits, including her stories, and her attorney's belief in the truth of her statements. And Scarola asked if Edwards pressured or encouraged her to lie. Question, has Brad Edwards ever pressured you or encouraged you in any way or under any circumstances at any time to provide false information about Jeffrey Epstein? Answer, never. Has he ever pressured you or encouraged you at any time or in any way under any circumstances to provide false information about anyone or anything? Answer, never. Scarola asked similar questions concerning Cassell. Apart from efforts made by Jeffrey Epstein or agents on behalf of Jeffrey Epstein to silence you or to have you refrain from providing true and accurate information about the interactions that you had with Jeffrey Epstein and others to whom you were trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein, has anyone apart from that circumstance pressured you or encouraged you to provide false information about any of the topics that were covered during the course of your examination? Answer, no. Notably, the special master overseeing plaintiff's deposition in the Dershowitz case recognized the waiver. Questioned by Ms. Borja, who is Dershowitz's counsel. Now, I understand from your testimony that Mr. Edwards did not pressure you to give false information about this matter. Is that fair? That's fair. Tell me everything that Mr. Edwards told you about this matter. Ms. McCauley, objection. That's privileged, and she has not waived any privilege. She's not here testifying as to what she discussed with her lawyers. Special master, it's an interesting point. I'm not going to grant your motion for privilege, but I'm going to suggest to you that there might be a strong argument to be made that those questions opened some of the door. I'm going to let the judge decide that. But you can go ahead, ask the questions. We'll put it on the record for later determination, and it's going to force, to be blunt, this among other things that may force the witness to come back and complete the deposition. Just let's be aware of that. And I'm going to move forward to the Okay, so this goes on, and they basically try to question the veracity of Virginia's statements against Dirty Dershowitz. And I'm going to call that part 1 and continue at a later date. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. I will link it in the description and in the comments as well. Thanks for tuning in. All the best from the Midwest. This is the Lonely Ronin, Anakin Skywalker, YouTube's chosen one, Addy Ads, signing off. Cheers, and until next time.